the question I had was, if it's easier or more difficult to leave a situation, are you more or less likely to do so? Especially because in places like Philadelphia, for instance, one common response to violent crime, particularly against women, is to build more shelters and encourage women to go to them. And I was interested to see if that actually predicts the choice to leave. Data sources. I got the crime data from every police division in Canada, and population, age, sex, that sort of thing, census data from the Canadian census. I'm actually defining an island for the sake of this study as any place that Google Maps cannot find. If you ask Google Maps to give you directions to this place and it says that you have to go by ferry, that's okay, that's not an island. But the ones, like that one right there, they can't get you there. You can go by boat when the harbor is not icebound, which is about 3 months out of the year. The rest of the time it's by plane. But it's not enough to notice that two populations are different in some trait. You also have to notice what other traits those two populations differ in. These are population pyramids. Red is female, blue is male on both. They're also roughly equally lined up. The divisions aren't quite the same, but they're pretty equally lined up. So as you can see, a community that had a lot of males, specifically males ages 18 to 24, might be expected to have a higher homicide rate, even if that were not in fact the cause, just because the particular population is more likely to do that. There are also Aboriginal groups, American Indians, Inuit, and Métis, which I don't think we have in this country, but they do there. That group is also overrepresented, so you would have to also correct for the levels of Aboriginal population. And, of course, also young people. Young people seem to do more of almost everything except for money. Other variables, family size and structure. Does the prevalence of lone-parent families affect the prevalence of homicide? Income versus employment income, particularly people living in the north of Canada, like Alaskans, they get paid just to live there. Does having your income come from different sources have any effect? Urban versus rural, the studies I've seen, is actually a small effect and it can go either way. There are more homicides in urban areas because there are more people in urban areas, but it's actually not that much more dangerous. The island of Martha's Vineyard, where I grew up, has a homicide rate comparable to Sweden, which in the case of the vineyard is 1 every 10 years, and in the case of Sweden is a couple every year. But it's actually the same rate. Alcohol. I actually haven't gotten any data yet on alcohol consumption, but I certainly want to look into it, particularly in a fly-in community where you actually can control the amount that's available. I've got mobility to see if isolation is even correlated with mobility and interaction in any way. Question?
Can you draw any correlations from what you've looked at yet, or have you not been able to dig enough to say anything?
What I've seen is that the major confounder is going to be Aboriginal origin. And oddly enough, the places that are very high in Aboriginals do not have as high a homicide rate as you would expect. Like, it's high. It's something like 5 times as high as for the rest of Canada. But 7 times as many homicide perpetrators are Aboriginal. So there might even be some protective effect, or there may be some threshold above which is not that much worse.
You didn't consider education level, did you? As a variable?
I could. I haven't yet. I haven't yet is the short answer. But I certainly could. I think it's known that perps in general tend to be less educated, largely because they're younger, so they haven't had a chance to get educated yet.
No, are you expecting that your findings might inform non-isolated communities, like give information that might help us understand homicide in non-isolated communities?
Well, homicide homicide in particular, not only, but all violent crimes, because the rate of reporting of a lot of violent crimes is as much a function of the victim's culture. Maybe she thinks what happened was okay, whether she thinks the police are going to help, what she thinks is going to happen next. All homicides are reported. There's somebody who's body, it's difficult to ignore. And so I'm basically assuming that the homicide is a proxy for all violence. And also, I'm interested in looking into, does enabling people to leave actually cause them to leave, or would resources be better spent on convincing them to leave in other ways? I mean, building shelters for someone who doesn't think that what's happening is a crime may not be particularly helpful compared to education, awareness, employment.
You have other questions for our second speaker? Thank you very much, Maia. And then we'll just need another minute, I guess.